Hello plant people, how are you guys doing today? If you're new around here, my name's Ashley and I like to take science and apply it to all things plants. And today's video, we are looking at the Great Potato Experience and trying to determine which one of the 4 methods I used yielded the largest, or just in general, the most potatoes, and let you guys decide what method is best for you. But first, I want you guys to vote down below which potato, there's quite a few this size, came out of which experiment. I would be very excited to know before we actually know the answer. Today's video is brought to you guys by Skillshare. If you guys want to learn a new skill, then Skillshare is the place to do it. And those of you that use the link down below will get a free trial. It's only limited offer, however, and it's special to just the Gardening Canada crew. It's only the first 1,000 people to click that link down below. Now, Skillshare is not just things like drawing or how to develop a YouTube channel. It also can include things like how to improve your Instagram, photography, and even, yes, gardening and houseplants. They have a curated group of instructors that are hand-selected by Skillshare themselves to make courses that you can use to learn a new skill. Skillshare is awesome to be able to do on the road, on your breaks at work. Not that I'm saying you should do that. And also just relaxing here into the fall season. If you need something to watch while you preserve your food here in the next little bit from the garden, then Skillshare is definitely the place to do it. One course I enjoyed is Gardening 101 by Geraldine Lavin, and she goes into great detail on how to store and preserve herbs long term. She's a herbalist and a gardener, so I did have some pretty major takeaways from that class, so I encourage you guys to check that out. The first 1,000 people to use the link in the description will get a 1-month free trial, so go check it out. So I think it's actually pretty important to set the ground rules for the entire experiment in general. There was 4 methods being used. The first one being kind of a Ruth Stout method, where I used compacted clay soil and then I simply placed the potatoes on top and then mulched over top of that with a hay. The next method was a Ruth Stout in a bucket. I did this because I know some people are limited in regards to space that they have, so I thought, can I just place some potatoes on the bottom of a Rubbermaid and then simply put hay on top and see what happens. And the third method was your classic container potato style, where we're growing potatoes inside of said containers. And then the last method was a classic potato growing method. What I do specifically for growing potatoes is I dig a spade deep and I simply place my potato in and then I cover it up. Once that potato has grown to, I would say like 6-ish inches, I then toss more soil on top, I mound it, and then I mound it again. So I do 2 mounds total for my area, and that's kind of the results from that one. So let's take a look at each result, and I will tell you kind of environmental factors that may differ with each type that I used, so you can help determine what's going to work best for you. The results of my experiment may not work for other people in certain cases, depending on, again, environmental factors. So this is my Ruth Stout bucket method. I'm actually kind of concerned as to what the results are going to be. I literally took a bucket, put potatoes in the bottom with like a little bit of potting soil at the bottom, and then topped up with hay as the potato grew. So we'll see what happens. I'm not too keen on what's going to happen here. I think if you had a very hot summer, which we did have, this would be a not ideal solution. I would try to keep it out of the heat or try to cool it down in some way. I gotta move this plant because I'm gonna get demonetized again. YouTube doesn't even like those plants like in the shot, so he's gotta move. But anyways, this is inside of here. We're gonna take a look. It's heavy. It's oddly heavy. Oh my gosh. So there's a lot of plants, and it really compacted this. I'm actually shocked by that. 1 potato. So 1 plant yielded this little mini potatoes. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's a little lower than what I would want, but if I put this in maybe less less intense conditions. Maybe if I planted them a little bit earlier, they would have worked out a little bit better in my favor, but regardless, roosted out in a bucket, not my favorite. So the next method is actually just a bucket method. This one has an insert so you could harvest throughout the year. Again, this is one of those things where if you have a hot summer, you aren't able to water very regularly, this isn't a good idea for you. And it comes down to just the capacity of the container and how much said container heats up. So you have to keep in mind that the fruit, for lack of a better term, that we're trying to actually get, the food we're trying to get from this plant is in the soil. So it really is prone to sensitivities from heat to moisture to texture, you name it. But this was again just straight potting soil, and you can see he's almost on his way out, so I'm going to do this over top of my compost actually and try to dig these out. Should I try to do it through the insert method? I'm actually not sure how these inserts work, because I always think like, how does I guess you can disturb a plant's roots and they'll be fine, right? I'm gonna get my white shirt. There's so many colors of this birch on down below, and I pick white. White. Why? I don't know. I'm sadistic, I guess. So the insert is out and I can see a potato. So let's see how many hopefully are bigger than this one, because he's pretty small. I think the important thing to remember with all of these is that it's really truly going to come down to your environment, what conditions you have, and how much care and attention you want to pay to your plant. In a lot of the container experiments, I wasn't too keen on watering, and watering is kind of one of those things that I do when I want. Ideally, it's in the ground, because I like to benefit from the ecosystem of the soil as a whole. So keep that in mind. If you like to water, then these container methods may be the best choice for you. I would actually argue that this one's worse than the Roost Stout. I got like 2 that are larger than the Roost Stout, but I got less of them, and I would rather get a bunch of mini potatoes than just 2 random big ones and a whole bunch of micro minis. Anyways, let's go on to the classic like Roost Stout hay on top type one. So next method is actually just the very classic dig and pile up method, and out of that I got some very monstrous potatoes, and I ended up with somewhere over 8 cups for one plant, which is actually really good. If you're going this route and you have quite a few of these, you need to cure them, and I'll do a video on my second channel on how to cure potatoes specifically, but you cannot just throw these into storage, they won't last. So curing or canning is going to be key for just a long-term use, but over 8 cups for just the classic old dig and pile up method. For the classic dig and pile up method, I'll actually do some videos on it just like separate. I dug up one plant out of curiosity one night with my grandma. Don't ask, at the farm. So I just wanted to see where everything was at. It wasn't like a full pull harvest, but I'll show you what the end results of quite a few actual potato plants is here in a separate video. So someone asked the question a while back, how to grow in really awkward spaces, and this here is an awkward space. My husband built this for me, and he didn't put it quite up against the garage. And when I see empty soil, I see opportunity. Anyways, this entire area is a very hard clay. I have a natural gas line going through here to heat this shop. And then there are a whole bunch of other lines and power lines and cables kind of going in and around the yard. So Roost Out, or just a no dig in general, kind of what needs to happen in this scenario. So in order to plant in this very awkward space, I decided to simply leave the soil alone, plant the potatoes on top, and then put some bales of hay on top of that. Now you could technically also use straw, but in this case I had hay at my disposal, so I went a little bit wild with it. Now I'm gonna dig up one plant, however I did do literally several plants for this entire area. I will preface this with saying this is a shadier spot than any of the other 3 experiments. All the other 3 experiments were in full sun. And the other limiting factor here would be potentially heat and water, but I don't actually think that's the case so much, only because This year, if you're in Saskatchewan, Saskatoon, I mean, it's like 10 o'clock right now and it's already 30 degrees Celsius. It's been around 35, 36, 37 degrees Celsius for several weeks now, which is very, very warm for us. And so because of that, I think that's why some of my plants are struggling. But regardless, I'm gonna take one of these bad boys up and we'll see what's under it. Okay, I'm a little shocked. There's like nothing. There is moisture in both the soil and the hay. So moisture clearly isn't the issue. Maybe it was light, but then again, I just don't see, like, the potatoes are growing. They're a little leggy. I don't know. Stout. I've seen some people, well, one woman in particular, do very well with this method. Was it because I use hay instead of straw? Maybe that's what it is. I'm not sure, but the hay wasn't sprayed at all. So Stout in a bucket is better than Stout original? What the heck? Anyways, the things you find. Anyways, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Which method would you use? I think I'm going to stick with my classic method. I'm a simpleton. What can I say? I do enjoy it. It yields good, and I do have the best results, hands down. Now, one disclaimer with that is that soil is tilled, so it's very fluffy. And the reason for that is because it's in an old cattle pasture. There's a lot of weed control that has to go on, and if you did not know this, a form of weed control is tillage, depending on the type of weed that you do have. So before you come for me in the comments, it's completely legitimate way to manage weeds in an organic system on a large scale. So anyways, hand weeding would be just like days and days and days. Every day would be hand weeding, which wouldn't be fun. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below how you grow your potatoes, what kind of climate, environment, situation you're in, because my situation may not help everyone, and your situation may be the key for that person in a very similar environment. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye. There's a fat frog in his hole. Are you in your hole?